Hello, everybody. Welcome to a show to be named later. I'm Chase. This is Will. Not very exciting this past weekend in college football, but we had a couple big games to talk about. Will, we were just talking before the show. I think you want to talk about how good the Big Ten Conference is these days.
They're fantastic. I don't want us to spiral out of control on this, but basically, the Big Ten whiffed on every game that they had this past weekend. Michigan State drummed, Ohio State drummed, Purdue got beat, which I know Purdue's not a powerhouse, got beat by a directional school out of Michigan, at home, by the way. Who else am I missing? There's one other one that I'm missing. That Michigan got shut out. I know people are tired of hearing about the SEC, and I understand that.
You're going to turn into Paul Feinbaum, aren't you?
No.
You've already got the hairline going.
No, I do have the hairline going. I don't have the glasses.
You need some glasses.
That's it.
To drop about 40 pounds.
40? I probably need to drop more than that. The dude looks like he's
I was trying to be nice.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. I just don't understand. Quit giving me the Big Ten. I don't want to hear Big Ten from anybody else ever. Not until they win something worth winning. Michigan State is not a bad team, but as a conference this year, or this past weekend, I should say, the entire Big Ten conference took themselves out of the playoff picture.
Yeah,
the entire
they did.
Conference.
I mean, I'm gonna totally agree with you in saying that the Big Ten is a marginal football conference at best. They're almost turning into a basketball conference.
Yeah.
Like the ACC. Their only glimmer of hope that they've had the past 5 or 8 or 10 years has been Ohio State. And even though the game wasn't a blowout, essentially, you and I watched most part of that game, and VT, did what they would to them at will. I mean, Ohio State looked terrible. I'm going to disagree with you on the Michigan State game. I was pretty impressed with Michigan State, the way they handled Oregon. I think Oregon, Oregon, Florida State, those are the two best teams in the country. Oregon has the speed. That game was close up until late. Sparty had the lead most of the game.
They scored 28 unanswered points.
Well, they did. I mean, the defense decided to take the fourth quarter off. I'll give you that. But they hung in there with Oregon like I didn't think they would do. I thought that game would be 28-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
I really did. But I wrote down a few things about that game before we started here. Michigan State had more first downs, and Oregon had more penalties than Michigan State, which bodes in Michigan State's favor. The thing that killed them, Sparty had 2 turnovers. Sparty had more passing yards, more total yards than Oregon. So I think they showed up and played, but at the end, the depth just ran out. The condition just ran out. I mean, them boys are probably in Eugene right now running stairs. They're just the team flies. But yeah, going off that, the Big Ten, all the Big Ten hypers out there, we're tired of hearing it. And we're not trying to be SEC buffs, which we essentially are for the part of the country we live in. But it's just facts. SEC is still at the top. There weren't any really good games in the SEC this week at all. Most everything was a blowout. Everybody looked good against these powder puff schools, as they should.
We talked prior to the Michigan State-Oregon game, and I felt like the fact that Michigan State, their approach was going to be ball control. Keep it on the ground, run the clock, keep their offense off the field. So I felt like some of these things, I guess, really aren't that surprising. I think Oregon has always been a very high penalized team, and that high-powered offense that they have a lot of times will make up for it. I guess I was shocked that they did as well as they did up until the fourth quarter. I mean, obviously, I'd go with you. I think conditioning and them being exhausted is what really caught up to them. So, the USC-Stanford game was another good game that was out on the West Coast.
That was a good game. I mean, my take on that is, USC's a lot better than I thought they were going to be, especially with their preseason problems.
Where you get a coach in there shows you what can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, on Stanford's side, Stanford lost the game. Their offense didn't look that great, but I think Stanford's still going to be Stanford moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't really take anything away from them. I don't want to pump them down. Stanford really beat USC out in the box score as well with first downs, penalties, yards. They had more than USC.
Well, careful what you say. Pat Hayden may walk in the door, come down here and disagree with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but kudos to from what I see, kudos to Stanford for holding USC to 13 points. I mean, I think that's pretty impressive on that defense.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get out of here on this segment, my 4 teams in the playoff right now would be, I got FSU 1. You go with that?
Yeah.
Oregon 2.
Okay.
I got Oregon 2.
I mean, okay.
All right, we're gonna veer right here. I got Texas A&M at 3.
No.
I mean, I know it's a young season. I was that much impressed with Kenny Hill and those freaking wide receivers that Texas A&M got. I mean, those wide receivers are something that are unlike anywhere else in the SEC right now.
Well, South Carolina struggled with East Carolina. So
Yeah,
obviously
well,
South Carolina is
I
not
understand
what
that.
we thought they were. So,
Yeah. Right now, tonight, I got Texas A&M at 3. Obviously this changes. And then, number 4 spot for me, it's a tie between Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. I haven't seen Georgia. I've only seen Georgia play 1 game. Alabama, obviously pretty much just had a scrimmage on Saturday, as did Auburn. It all depends for me on Alabama's defense moving forward, and hopefully Saban will listen to me and please play Blake Sims from this point forward. Auburn looked good to me as well moving forward. So I got those 3 in a tie as my top 4 right now.
Well, I mean, I'm with you on FSU. I'll give you Oregon. I'm not sure A&M's going to be able to survive.
Who you want at 3?
I think 3 and 4 is Alabama, Auburn right now.
Okay.
Now,
obviously that'll sort itself out.
It is, because Georgia's in there, and Georgia. I don't know how it falls. I think Georgia and Auburn are at Georgia this year, if I'm not mistaken. So, with that being the case, I like Georgia. Unless something happens or somebody gets hurt, I like Georgia in that game playing at home.
Yeah.
But it'll sort itself out.
Those 3 will take care of themselves as the season progresses, and somebody
absolutely.
will get bumped for sure. So looking ahead to next week, we'll get that to another segment, so you got to watch, so stay tuned. But this past week, I guess our big take is, what you going to do, Big Ten? I mean,
about what we thought.
Yeah.
So Big Ten whiffing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This week. So we appreciate you guys watching, and tune in for our next segment as we preview next week's games. Follow us, if you would please, on Twitter at SportsWCP, and on YouTube and Facebook at WCP Sports Talk. Have a good night.